let's walk through what the next 2 weeks are going to look like for you. It seems like the stuff with your knee is going better. I'd keep an eye on it just to make sure that we're not overdoing anything or that we aren't taking a step that's too deep into all of this. Mileage has been increased a little bit for the next 2 weeks. Both of them are going to be a little bit under what our maximum was for that last cross country buildup, but I think it should be in a pretty good spot for you. The workouts are a little bit shorter than what we used to be doing, so mileage overall should feel a little bit easier. I really did like the way that you did the last progression run. I think it maybe starts off a little fast, at least building into it a little bit early. But as we get longer, just add some more easy miles to the start of it, and I think you'll be in a really good spot. Right now, that's what I have you doing for February 2nd. So keep that same kind of feel of what you did on the January 19th progression run. Just do it where a couple of those easy Ks are just added in at the beginning, but you can build down to what you did before. I think that lower 340 to mid 340 pace per K, I think is a great spot for you right now. It should feel strong, not necessarily fast. For workouts that are coming up this week, I still want to keep a lot of things very threshold oriented. We've done a handful of more broken tempos. So, shorter 5K tempo, 8 by 1K. And it seems like the progression run was probably a better session than the 8 by 1K as well. So I do want to get in a straight 8K tempo. And afterward, we'll do at least a couple of shorter, faster reps. Your track season is going to come up on us a little bit quicker than what cross country did. I think we had a longer build up with longer races, so we were always kind of in that building phase. But I want to make sure we're touching on a couple of faster things and also just to make it feel a little bit interesting. So start off in that 330 range. We'll work down to 320. I think 320 is about where your true threshold is. So this just keeps us a little bit on the safer side early on. You can work down to it within, I'd say, 2K, but go by feel. I'd rather be a little too easy than a little bit too fast. And then when you get to the 321, 321, basically 300s are going to be at 16 seconds per 100, 200s at 15, hundreds at 14. Just going through the gears. This should be something that probably feels a little fast because we haven't done a lot of that stuff recently. But I think with the amount of rest that you're getting, it should feel pretty comfortable. Do 90 seconds between reps, 3 minutes after each of the bigger sets. With the Friday workout, just getting in a little bit more volume. So 6K of total tempo stuff. Again, same kind of pacing progression. It's going to be a little closer to like 330 per kilometer, working down to 320s. This one you can probably go a little bit faster and I'm fine, but I wouldn't go a whole lot faster than like 630 to 640. And then the 300s are more like kind of 5K pace, so a little bit under 15 minutes. You should feel pretty good on those. Don't feel like you have to rush through it. I'd say, do the straight turn straight for the 300s and then just jog the 100 in between. Do it as slow as you can. You might have to go out into like lane 8 just to kill some time so it stays at 60 seconds. With the long run this upcoming week, so the January 26th, I want to do it intentionally slow. So I have some notes on it for kind of what I'm looking for, but our body doesn't understand what miles or what kilometers are. And I think sometimes having a really slow long run gives you a good chance to where even without adding more distance, we can spend more time being aerobic. So if you look at like the 18-kilometer progression run that we did last week, it's about 70 minutes of running. I think if you were to do that same 18 kilometers, but do it like intentionally slow, so, probably even being in like that 7:30 to 8 minute mile pace, you're going to end up getting closer to, 85 minutes, even potentially 90 minutes if you're going like intentionally quite slow. And that just gives you a lot more time being very, very aerobic. I think it saves you a lot of the wear and tear of some of the faster stuff. It keeps us from getting greedy. And I just think it's sometimes a really good way to get kind of a little bit more work in some sense, but not necessarily add a lot more volume to what we're already doing. There's definitely some benefits to running faster or progressive long runs. Um, but I think doing them week in and week out sometimes gets to be a lot. So I think for now, we'll just alternate back and forth between them. When we have races close to one of those weekends, we'll probably default to it being, the intentionally slow day. And then the other ones, just having that nice progression that you did last week, I think is great. Then for next week's workouts, I want to keep the mileage pretty similar. So workouts, they're going to be a little bit of a deeper step into things. So Tuesday, I have us doing 4 sets of 400s. This is going to start a little faster than threshold. Recovery is pretty short. It's at 45 seconds. So your heart rate's going to be elevated pretty much the whole time. Do it as a jogging rest. That'll also keep our heart rate up a little bit more. And I would say even the 2 minutes between, if you're feeling pretty good, just jog a lap in that time. And I think you'll at least have it where, you're going to spend a good half hour with a fairly elevated heart rate, and we get to run some paces that are faster than threshold. So this will eventually work down, a lot closer to, kind of a fast 5K, almost getting your 3K kind of range. We'll definitely move up to 5 sets sometime in the next handful of weeks, but this is just kind of a step into that faster stuff. It's broken up a lot. It should be a session that you feel pretty good on. If you feel amazing during this, let's add a relatively easy 2K tempo at the end. I'm completely fine not doing it. And I would say lean towards not doing it, and just, hey, if you feel like an absolute rock star through sets 3 and 4, instead of making those sets faster, like you can go fast on the last rep or two, that's fine. But I'd rather probably make sure we nail the session. And then, yeah, if you feel great, do an easy tempo at the end. Sometimes doing threshold after the fast stuff can be really nice because we already have some lactate in our legs. Our blood pH is probably become a little bit more acidic. So this gives you a chance to work through that a little bit more, and just kind of makes us learn how to run a little bit faster and be controlled, maybe when our body really doesn't want to do that quite as much, versus doing what we typically do, which is leading off with the tempo stuff at the beginning. And then last workout in this 2-week block is going to be 4x3K. So starting off, same kind of pacing we've done. So 330, work down to 320. Again, this is a longer one. So we're doing 12K, about 7 miles of actual effort. Be on the more conservative side. You've done this workout a few times, but since we're getting ready for some track stuff, we don't need to go as overboard on a lot of the longer threshold. So I will keep some of that stuff broken up. We'll probably eventually do it where it's something like 2x6K, or maybe even one really long continuous, but I think we'll get enough of that stuff with the more progressive long runs that I won't spend a lot of time in that, but I do want to keep that stuff in check because, the progress that you've made over the last couple of months, I think is going to continue if we just focus a little more on building and not just saying, hey, we're fit, let's do a lot of the sharpening stuff for track. I think you'll do really well from doing enough of the sharpening stuff and enough of the race pace work that it feels a little more comfortable than it did during cross, but still keeping the idea of, we want to be the best runner we can be, not just this year, but, 2-3 years from now. And I think making sure that a lot of that anaerobic threshold stuff is a really big focal point for what we do pretty much year round. So that'll be at least what we got for the next 2 weeks. I think when we start to get a better idea of what races we have popping up, what they're going to look like, which ones we want to focus on, I think that'll probably be the bigger factor for how we start shifting workouts. And I would also like to just see what the next couple weeks look like before we put too much down. First workout for you went really well. Second one was a little bit shaky, but it seems like, that was just a bad day. So from there, once we have a little more data to work off of and we have a better feel for, what things have come back really quickly from taking a break, what things might need to get worked on, and also just what you feel really comfortable with, I think you have some pretty good fitness to work off of from, last season, running a pretty good mile, running some really good cross marks. So, I think we have a lot that we can build on and hopefully take some really good steps.